All right, welcome seniors. We know some of you are probably still coming in, still joining, and hopefully you guys have seen all of the housekeeping items that have been scrolling through. My name is Ms. Contreras, and we are so excited that you're here today. But please make sure that you've read everything on the first slide. It will help you have a better experience during today's boot camp if you're following all of these items that you see here. I do want to also mention, throughout here and there, we may have little minor glitches and technical difficulties. I know that you've all been doing distance learning for quite some time, so thank you in advance for having patience with us. Again, we're excited that you're all here, and Ms. Blake is going to give us an introduction to boot camp. So take it away, Ms. Blake.
All right, thank you, Ms. Contreras, for bringing us off and for the graduation music. I am Sarah Blake from Career and Transition Services, and I will be presenting with Ms. Contreras, Ms. Southworth, and Ms. Grande. If you want to reach out to us after the training, our contact information can be found in Google Classroom. But we recommend for you to reach out to your ETR, your Employment and Transition Representative, at your school first. Now, before I move on to the next slide, I also want to let you know that this session is being recorded, and tomorrow we will post this recording in our Google Classroom in case you want to revisit anything that we work on today. Now, unfortunately, because we have a lot to cover in boot camp and this is a big class, we won't be able to stop for individual questions along the way. So we are asking if you need help quickly and you are completely stuck and you need immediate assistance to raise your hand, and your ETR will pull you from the larger session into a breakout room and assist you. And while you're meeting with your ETR, if you miss anything, you can always review this recording at a later date. But if you have a question, we ask you to hold off, maybe write your questions down if you want to, and please wait for the pause, reflect question slide after each section for you to ask your question. Okay, so what is boot camp? Boot camp is a short, intensive circuit training that is intended to successfully prepare people for next steps. During our short 2.5 hours together, we will not be able to complete the entire application process, but we hope that this circuit of activities will help you get started. Our college circuit of activities today will be Naviance, Supermatch. 2, select your top 3 colleges. And 3, create a Common App account. We are then going to conclude with crafting your essay, support services, and next steps. Okay, Maggie? Begin Circuit 1, Naviance.
Right. Thank you so much, Ms. Blake. Give me one moment. I'm going to share my screen with you all. Okay. So I just want to start off with mentioning I am going to use a different browser than you guys. I'm not sure if you guys have Microsoft Edge. If you're just using Chrome, that's totally fine. I'll explain why as we get into our first circuit, the Supermatch. All right, so what you're going to do first is you're going to go ahead and log into your Blackboard. Okay, I know that you all know how to do that, so take a moment and log in. Once you get there, you're going to scroll down to the lower left-hand corner where it says Naviance, and you're going to click on that icon. Hopefully you're all familiar with the Naviance student icon. And then it's going to bring you actually back to the FCPS website. And you may have to scroll down, but there's another button here. It says Student Naviance Login. You want to click there. And you're just going to re-enter your FCPS login information. Right. Now you should be on Naviance's homepage, okay? What I wanted to mention to you guys was sometimes this website can be a little finicky and it may try to time you out. If that happens, something will pop up that says, do you want to extend your session? And that hasn't been working out so well. So if that happens, you can just log off and log back in. Everything that you're doing will be in there. I just wanted to put that out there, okay? So to get to the Supermatch, we're going to go up to the Colleges tab. Click on Colleges, and you're going to go down to Find Your Fit, and you're going to go click to the first option, which is Supermatch. Okay. Now, some of you actually may already have completed a Supermatch, which is wonderful. If you have completed it and you would like to save your results, you can go to this button right here that says Save Search. You can give it a name. Let's Save Search. Then you're going to click Start Over. Now, if you haven't done a Supermatch yet, you're actually all set and you're ready to go. All right, so take a minute, reset it if you need to. Okay. Now, what we're going to be doing here is when you're thinking about college searching, there are so many factors to keep in mind. Okay, and at the top here, you're going to see several different tabs, and these include different filters. Okay, and throughout, what I want you guys to be thinking about are your must-haves, things that are a must-have for you, and things that are nice to have. So a must-have is something that you're not willing to give up. Okay, during these next 4 years, things that you have to have in your college to be happy. The nice to have, just what it sounds like. It would be great if you had it. You could live without it. Okay, it's something that you'd be willing to give up, right? And I'll talk more once we go through all of the tabs, how you can kind of move these around a little bit, right? So we're going to go through tab by tab. I do want to just mention one other thing to you guys. When we get into these filters, you don't have to be too overly specific, right? You don't have to always click something. It's okay to leave certain things blank. All right. What happens is if you end up being too specific, you might not get as many results or as many matches, and that's okay too. But I just wanted to throw that out there, right? So we're going to start with the first tab up here. It says location. When we're thinking about location, we're thinking about where you want to be geographically and what type of environment. All right. Now, throughout this process, you're going to hear me refer to a student who we're going to call Darnell. Darnell is a student that I've been working with. That's not his name. He's a fictional student. But I'm going to kind of do this through his eyes and his preferences and use his filters so you can kind of get an idea of how to do it through the student's eyes, all right? So location. What you can do is you can either type in a specific state or you can do a quick selection by region. So Darnell has shared that he doesn't really want to go too far from home, right? So too far from Virginia. So Virginia is in the mid-Atlantic. We're going to check mid-Atlantic. We're going to start by doing that, okay? And you do not have to click what I'm clicking, okay? This is for you, all right? Now, a bunch of different states pop up. Okay, I'm going to get rid of kind of the ones that are a little further away because he did say that he doesn't want to go too far. So I'm going to get rid of Delaware. I'm going to get rid of New Jersey, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. Darnell has really shared, he doesn't want to leave the DMV, okay? If let's say you have your heart set on going off to California or Washington State or New York, you can go ahead and you can type that state right in there, or you can use the drop-down menu, okay? So that's location. That's the first thing. Next thing you want to think about is, the campus surroundings or the environment. Okay? In Fairfax County, we're in kind of a large suburb. It's a metro area. But Darnell has shared that he doesn't really want to go off into a city. He's not used to that. He doesn't think he'd feel that comfortable in a city for the next 4 years. So he's going to check suburb near a large city, suburb near a small city, a town not near a city. And he has shared that he's actually spent some time on a family farm and he feels like he's really happy there and he would enjoy, being in that type of environment. So we're also going to click rural. So think for yourself. I want you to take a minute. If you've already done it, that's great. Think about two things. Think about geographic area and then the campus surroundings. And make your selections, and then we'll move on to the next tab. And remember, if you get stuck throughout this, you guys can raise your hand, like Ms. Blake said earlier, and your ETR will help you in a breakout room. All right. So next, we're going to talk about academics. First thing you see here is degree type, and I do want to point out this little icon here. This looks like a little eye. Information. Okay, so if you're not sure about something within the Supermatch or some of these terms, that's okay. That's what this is here for. So if you click on it, it's going to give you definitions or explanations of each of the terms that are listed here. I know most of you are probably familiar with different types of degrees. I know many of our ETRs have gone over this information with you or perhaps even done lessons on this. If you need a refresher on any of the things we're talking about or you're unfamiliar, you can use this icon. Okay. Now Darnell has shared that he wants to go to a four-year institution. Okay, so that means he is going for a bachelor's degree. So he only really wants to look at colleges that offer bachelor's degrees. Not too concerned with the advanced degrees like master's and doctorate because that's kind of off in the future. He's really only thinking about the next 4 years. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about majors. Okay? Now, for those of you that may not be sure, major means your course study in college, what you're going to study and what you're going to major in. Now, all of you have a transition IEP. You have a transition plan that hopefully is very robust, and maybe all throughout your years of transition planning with your case managers, you know exactly what you want to major in. You have a very good, solid career plan, which is great. So if you know for sure what your major is, you know without a doubt that it's not going to change, you can absolutely search for a major within this tool or type it in, okay? If you don't know your major, I want to let you know that that is completely fine too. Okay, there are statistics out there that say, people get to college and they may change their major 3, 4, even maybe 5 times throughout, okay? So for Darnell, for his career choice that he's heading towards, actually you can major in different things to reach that career, so we're not going to type in a major. Again, there are tons and tons of majors listed in here, so I would just make sure if you are specific, if you are filtering a lot of things, you'll still get matches, but they won't be like close 100% matches when you get to your results, okay? And then there's something called minors. Minor, it's like a mini major, okay? Again, we're going to leave that blank for now. If Darnell said if he decides later what he wants to minor in, that's fine. He can always add it or something falls into his lap as he's taking courses that he really enjoys, all right? So for now, we're just going to click bachelor's. And then you can either click the arrow next here or you can click the admissions tab, okay? All right. First thing you see here is your GPA or your grade point average. Now, if you already know your GPA, that's great. You can go ahead and type it right in the box here, okay? If you don't know your GPA or you don't remember it, that's totally okay. I'm going to show you where you can find it. What you're going to do is you are going to go up to the About Me tab, okay, right here. You're going to click on it, and you're going to go to My Account. If you scroll down, there it says weighted GPA. That's your GPA. Okay, so again, you're going to go to About Me, My Account, and scroll down. So once you have your GPA, you can actually navigate right back to the Supermatch, colleges, find your fit, Supermatch. It saves what you've already done. Right now, we're working on the admissions tab. So Darnell's GPA is a 3.0. We're going to enter that here. Okay. Next, we're going to talk about SAT and ACT scores, or standardized tests. Okay. We can't even talk about this without acknowledging the times that we're in. Okay. So we all know that we We're in a global pandemic. We're in unprecedented times. We've been in this global pandemic since last March. That being said, colleges and universities, they understand that many students that are applying to their colleges and universities, they may not have had a chance or an opportunity to sit for these standardized tests. So what's happening is many schools, if not most, are going what's called test optional. And what that means is that when you go to apply to an institution, submission of standardized tests such as SAT and ACT is not required as part of your application. Okay? So the college, you can still, they'll review everything else you have, but they will not hold it against you if you don't submit your scores. If you, let's say you did take the SAT or ACT and you were really happy with your score, you knocked it out of the park, you can certainly include it. For schools that are test optional, it's not required. So, Ms. Grande, is there anything that you want to add about test optional? Because I know you're our expert here on that.
Sure. So test optional means the student has the option to send it. So if you don't send it, it won't look negative on behalf of the student. The college doesn't know whether or not you've taken it. So I always encourage students that if they're not happy with their scores or if they haven't taken it, to take advantage of the test optional route that colleges are having for this current year.
Which is great. Thank you. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say they just review other parts of the application.
That's great. Thank you so much, Ms. Grande. It's really helpful. Okay. We talked about test optional. Thank you again, Ms. Grande. Now we'll talk a little bit about acceptance rate. And within this admissions tab, I do want to point out something else to you all. So one of the schools that I used to work at, they had a saying, and that it was, college is a match to be made, not a prize to be won. That's actually why we're going through this whole process, because the college search process is about finding a school that's a good match for you. It's not about just getting into the top college or even the college with the lowest acceptance rate. You want to be in a place where you're going to be successful, you're going to be happy, you're going to graduate, right? So that being said, with the student I've been working with Darnell, he doesn't want to end up shooting too high and pick schools that have lower acceptance rate and then be disappointed, right? He wants to kind of look at those schools that maybe he has a good chance to get accepted to. And again, that are a good match for him, right? So we're going to check off 51% to 75%. 76% or more. And I don't know if Ms. Grande, if you want to add anything else about acceptance rate. I know it's kind of can be even confusing. It doesn't mean if a school has a lower acceptance rate that it's necessarily better. I don't know if you want to say anything else about that.
Yeah, you're right. So the acceptance rates vary from school to school and how they report it out. And so sometimes schools that have a lower acceptance rate have a variety of students who don't qualify to apply there. So their grades are a little bit more rigorous at the college level, and other students will apply there thinking that they could get in. They're just giving them, a shot at applying to that college. And some of the schools that have a lower acceptance rates are your Ivy Leagues, your Harvard University, your Yales. And so students always look at those rates and think, oh, they have a low acceptance rate, so I'll never get in, and or they have a high acceptance rate at 75% or higher, I'll definitely get in. A variety of students apply to all of these colleges, and so the acceptance rates actually don't define whether or not you'll be accepted. It's comparing yourself to other students who have been accepted from your school to really understand and get a better look at, will you be able to be accepted to that school, and or will you not be accepted to those schools? And so it's a little bit more research on the student's end versus just looking at the acceptance rate, because every school reports a different type of acceptance rate out.
Great, thank you so much. All right. When it comes to application deadlines, we're not going to be too specific here. I mean, most of the colleges for regular decision admissions, they have very similar deadlines. A lot of them are around January. So again, we're not going to put a filter on this. Darnell is working on his applications all at the same time. The deadline doesn't make too much of a difference, okay? And then same thing with this part down here. You know, most schools that he's looking at, they do accept AP. Many schools are going test optional, so we're not gonna put a filter on this part down here, okay? So if you haven't finished the admissions tab, go ahead and enter your filters. Remember, think about your must-haves versus your nice-to-haves. And then we'll move on to student life. Okay, so when you're in college, yes, you are there to get a degree. You are there to study. That is your job, right? You also want to be thinking about how you're going to spend your time outside of your academics, okay? And a big way to do that is through an organization or club, okay? So maybe you're part of an organization or club that you've been a part of all throughout your high school career and you want to continue doing that. You can look for that in this drop-down menu or start typing it, enter it. So for Darnell, he's been part of the environmental club at his school, something he really wants to continue doing. So we're going to enter that here. Oh, and there it is. It pops right up. Okay. If you know that you want Greek life to be an option at where you're in college, you can make a preference for that here. Okay. Conversely, if you know that you don't want that to be part of campus life, you can indicate that. So whether to make them available or not available, Darnell hasn't given a preference, so we're just going to leave it blank. He doesn't have a preference. Okay. He's down here. He has shared that he really would like to study abroad at some point during his 4 years, so he would like to study in another country at some point during college, so we're going to check that off, right? So take a moment, complete these filters for student life. Think about your must-haves, and then we'll move on to the next tab. All right, next, diversity is extremely important, okay? Maybe you're a student who knows that they would feel more comfortable attending an HBCU, which stands for Historically Black College or University. If that's something that you want to do, you would check off that box, okay? If you know you want a certain overall diversity, maybe you want at least 20 or 30% minorities at the school you're attending, you can indicate that. Maybe your faith is really important to you. You want to find a school that maybe has a large population, or maybe the school was founded by that religious organization. You can enter that here. Okay, so you need to think about what level of diversity is going to make you most comfortable. Okay, going along with that, a lot of people think that every college and university is co-ed, and believe it or not, there are still colleges out there that are either all men or all women. If that's something that you want to explore or that you know you want to consider, you can check one of these. Darnell has said he does want a co-ed institution. And you can even take it a step further with a breakdown of percent versus male versus female. I know where I went to college, it was not 50-50. There was a lot higher percentage of students that were female where I went, and I actually had no idea. I never had a tool like this to help me, of course, during my search, but it's just something that would have been nice to know. So think about that as well. And international students as well. If you want a lot of students from other countries or even other states, you can indicate that here too. Right? So think about diversity. What's a must-have? Put in your filters. And then we'll move on to the institution characteristics. Okay. So going back to the degree type, remember Darnell has said that he wants to earn a bachelor's degree. So he's only looking at 4-year schools. So we're going to uncheck the filter here for community community colleges. Okay, so if he, if he was interested in a community college, he could go to Nova. Right now, he's looking at 4-year schools. He's also only interested in public schools. Okay, Darnell has shared that he is going to be applying for FAFSA. He's going to be applying for financial aid. So he wants something that is a little bit more affordable. So he's going to be looking at public schools only. These down here are actually pretty important. Okay, graduation rate. Just want to go over these real quick. What that refers to, high graduation rate means that a certain percentage of students completed a bachelor's degree within 4 years. Okay. Retention rate means that students return to the same institution the following year. Okay, so keep these in mind. We're actually not going to check any of these off because I did not discuss these with him. Same thing with job placement rate. But again, thinking about that match, you want a school that students are going to return to, right? And that students are going to graduate from. So if you don't check them off, that's totally fine. Just make that you're, doing your research and looking when you see your results. Average class size. I remember when I started in college and I went to a very large university, and the very first class I went to, I walked in and it was a large lecture hall and there were 500 students. And I just didn't expect that. I had no idea that I was going to be walking into this class my very first day with 500 other students. And I was very uncomfortable. So you need to think about, what kind of average class size do you want to be looking at? Do you want something smaller, 20 to 30? Maybe you want classes with a lot of students, okay? And again, the size, okay? When you're looking at very large institutions, there's probably a higher chance that you're going to have those 500 class lecture halls. Darnell has shared that he doesn't want anything too big or really too small for that matter. He's decided to check off mid-size, medium, and small. He doesn't really want very small because most of you, you're in FCPS high schools. All of you are in FCPS high schools, and those schools usually have between 2,000 and 3,000 students in them. So he definitely doesn't want something too small. He doesn't want to feel like he's lost in the crowd. So these were the ones that he chose for this filter. And he also is interested in at least having some on-campus housing. He doesn't really want kind of like what's called a suitcase campus, where students are there during the week and then they kind of leave or go home on the weekends. He wants that residential campus feel. All right, so take a minute. This is a really important tab, the institution characteristics, and make sure you apply your filters, your must-haves. And then we will move on to cost. Okay, so for this tab, we're actually not going to fill in really anything. Again, this student is applying to public schools, right? So when you're looking at in-state tuition, for the most part, a lot of the schools, they have similar tuition rates. They're not all the same. Some of them do have higher. But as I mentioned before, Joel is going to be applying for financial aid. So he knows he's going to have some assistance with paying for school, so he doesn't want to, again, limit his search options and look at schools maybe that he could have afforded with the financial aid. So he doesn't want to limit himself in that way. So we're going to leave cost blank. If there's a maximum amount that maybe you've discussed with your parent or guardian, and they've said this is it, this is how much that we're going to pay, or how much that we think you can handle paying per year, you can certainly put that in. We are choosing to leave it blank for our purposes. And then there's athletics. Okay, so, and that could be athletics that maybe either you want to watch or you even yourself want to play. So again, for me, I know where I went to school, this college I went to did not have a football team. which I was really sad about. Okay, so I just want to point out, I'm just going to interrupt myself for a second. So this is what I was mentioning. This may pop up for you. It should be me to just extend it because I'm in a different browser. So if you guys have that says extend your session, it's probably not going to work in Chrome and you'll have to log back in. So I apologize for that. So let me go back to athletics. As I was mentioning, the college I went to did not have a football team. And again, I just wasn't really aware of that when I got there. And it was kind of sad that I didn't have a football team to watch. So again, if that's something important to you, you can add that, okay? You can filter it out. Maybe there's a sport that you want to play, even if it's just intramural for fun, right? And you can type in that option here. Darnell has not shared that he is really interested in any sports, so we are not going to add any right now, okay? Then we're going to go to the resources tab, the final tab that we're going to look at. Now, there's a bunch of different options on here. So these are like extra services that colleges may or may not provide. So what they, like for example, learning differences support, Ms. Southworth is going to talk later about disability support services, which every college offers some disability support services, but this is referring to like a specific program. So if you want to find schools that have specific programs for learning differences, you would check that off. Things like counseling, mental health counseling, not every college or university offers that. If you know that's going to be something that you need, you would check that off. Okay, so take a look through these and see if there's any that are a must-have for you, and you can select them. Okay. Now that we have completed all of our tabs, if we scroll down, we can see some results here. You can see some of Darnell's results are Radford University, that's 100% match for him. There's also Frostburg State University, another 100% match. If you're wondering why, you're going to look at your results in a moment. I do want to take some questions here first. But this is where you see your results, okay? So just bear with me. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. Okay, she has a question. Okay.
Yes, you can go back into Naviance and change your filters on the college Supermatch.
Thank you, Ms. Grande. Other questions? About the Supermatch or about how to navigate it or anything like that?
Yeah, I have a question. So you can do multiple searches and call them different ones? So you can go back to each different one?
Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. Thank you. You can save as many searches as you want. Okay, so maybe you're looking, you want to save a search that just related to specific majors, like you were looking for pre-vet majors and you want to see how the results differ. You can certainly do that. Good question. Okay. So what we're going to do next is, I mentioned that, another question. The question says, how do I just keep the locations in the DMV area? Okay, so if you go back to the location tab, which is the first tab at the top, on the drop-down menu there, you can select the states that you want, or you can select Mid-Atlantic, and you can just X out those other states that you don't want. And if you need further assistance, we'd be happy to pull you into a breakout room. Thank you for your questions, everyone. All right, so what we're going to do is you're going to take just a minute and review your results. Okay, so it's going to look something like this, right? Right here you see Darnell did have 100% match for Radford University. I want you to take a minute and look at your results. And hopefully some of you maybe had 100%, and if you didn't get 100% match, that's totally okay. You're going to use these results in the next circuit with Ms. Blake, which is the big three. That's why we're having you look at them. And actually what we're going to do next is we're going to take a 5-minute break. And during the break, if you want, you can continue to look at your results. What I want you to do is, if you have a cell phone handy, that's great. If not, you're going to go to our cell phones. We're going to go to the timer app. We're going to set it for 5 minutes. And we're going to all click start together in 3, 2, 1, start.
Welcome back from break. Thank you, Ms. Contreras, for walking us through our first circuit. We are now going to begin the second part of boot camp, where you get to select 3 colleges to practice the application process with. Before break, you were asked to reflect on your results from Naviance Supermatch. Now it's time to choose your top 3 colleges. And please don't worry, you can change your mind and you are not committing to these 3 colleges today. We are only using these 3 colleges to get you familiar with the college application process. So during break, Darnell selected his top 2 colleges from Supermatch. They are Radford University and Frostburg State University. But his third college, James Madison University, wasn't suggested in Supermatch. But he visited JMU with his sister and liked the veterinary program. So just like Darnell, it is okay for you to choose a college that is not in your Supermatch list. Now, as you think about your top 3 colleges, I'm going to give you a minute to go ahead and minimize Naviance and open the check in our college bootcamp Google Classroom. So again, go ahead and minimize Naviance. We're going to be in Naviance as soon as you open up your Big 3 college application checklist. So go ahead and open your college bootcamp Google Classroom. Click on classwork. Click on classwork and open the Big 3 college application checklist. I'll put the link to Google Classroom in chat, so maybe if you're having some trouble finding it, this link will help. Best bet will be to open Google Classroom and search for College Bootcamp 2020. Once you open your Big 3 college application checklist, I would like for you to type the names of your top colleges into the first row. Remember, Darnell's top colleges were Radford University, Frostburg State University, and James Madison University. Now I want you to add your top 3 colleges to your Big 3 college application checklist. Remember, if you need help, raise your hand and your ETR can pull you into a breakout room. Right now, please enter your top 3 colleges into your Big 3 college application checklist. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to do this. Okay, the timer went off. I'm going to slide my voice back into Bootcamp. After you enter your colleges, you are going to complete the next 3 rows. Early application deadline, regular application deadline, and application fees. We're going to complete these next 3 rows by going back into Naviance Supermatch. So click on the names of one of your colleges. Radford State University was one of Darnell's. Click on admissions. Click on deadline dates. And then note the application fee. So again, I'm going to have you select your big 3 colleges and put them in your college application checklist. If your college was not in your Supermatch, you can go ahead and click on the college button on the header, Naviance header, and enter the college you want, and select the college. Click on the name of the college, click on admissions, click on deadline date, and then note the application fee. I'm going to give you 5 minutes on the timer for you to add your colleges, your application deadline dates, and your application fees to your big 3. And I've got my volume down very low, so if it's too loud for you, you can go ahead and turn off your volume, but I'm going to go ahead and play the 5-minute timer. And remember, if you need help, raise your hand and your ETR can pull you into a breakout room. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to add application deadlines and application fee into your big 3 college application checklist. Okay, the timer is up. I am going to slide my voice back into Bootcamp, and I want to thank everyone for completing the first section of Big 3 College Application Checklist. And if you weren't able to complete it, or if you need help, raise your hand and your ETR can pull you in a breakout room, or you can complete it at a later time. We are going to close Naviance now. And you will be using the Common App to complete the rest of the checklist. In the Common App, we're going to discuss grades and transcripts, test scores, letters of recommendation and essays, and the Big 3 checklist can help you keep track of all your progress in the Common App. I also want to note that down by the orange arrow, when we create your Common App account, please write down your email address, password, and CAID, your Common App ID, because your Common App account that you create today will roll over from year to year. And if you decide to defer or transfer to another college, the Common App account you create today can be used then. So write down the login information now. It'll make it easier for you to access Common App in the future. Now I'm going to open a pause, reflect question slide. Ms. Grande, do you have anything else to add about Naviance Supermatch or the Big 3 college application checklist before we move on to Common App?
One thing I would add is when you're doing the search and you say you're interested in learning more about the college, there's a little heart next to the college name in Naviance. Like that, it's still in red, and that notifies the student when the college is having a program at their high school, or the college is having a visit at their high school, so they could be notified for more information. It also helps the college and career specialist and the counselor know which schools that the student is thinking about applying to. So it helps with that conversation also.
Oh, that's a great point, Ms. Grande. Thank you for informing the group about the heart. We see that Trey has a question, and we just made him a moderator. So, Trey, I'm going to let you go ahead and ask your question to Ms. Grande. Thanks again, Ms. Grande.
Yes, Trey? You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, we're trying to figure out the Common App. Where are we supposed to be?
We haven't started the Common App yet. We're reflecting on the Naviance right now and the Big 3.
Oh. Okay, did you say close Naviance or keep it open?
You can close Naviance now. We're going to start using the Common App after the slide.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All any other questions? All right, we're going to go ahead and move on. Thank you, Ms. Grande, for telling us about the heart again on next to the colleges. All right, welcome to the third and final circuit of Bootcamp. It's time for us to talk about the Common App. So what is the Common App? The Common App is a centralized college application system that is accepted by more than 900 colleges and universities. And while you may have heard about other college application systems, we're going to use the Common App today because it seems to be the most popular and widely used. But while the Common App is the most widely used, some colleges are not listed in the Common App. For example, James Madison University, one of Darnell's top colleges, does not accept the Common App. James Madison University accepts the Coalition App. We're going to talk more about that later. Now, before we go to the Common App website, please make sure that you are on a computer or a laptop. While the Common App does have a mobile app for your phone, it is too hard to see the entire application on the phone, so you will miss questions. After you complete your application on a computer, I highly encourage you to download the mobile app on your phone because it sends reminders to your phone on what you should be doing. But for today, I'm going to ask that you use a computer, and at the end of today's boot camp, we will remind you to download the mobile app. So now please open your browser and type www.commonapp.org into your address bar. And you can use Chrome, Firefox, or Edge browser to complete the Common App. www.commonapp.org. Okay, now that we are on the website, I just want to point out the Access COVID-19 resource button here. When I follow this link, it shows us Common App resources and solutions that can help us during these uncertain times. Since we don't have a lot of time today, I will let you explore these COVID-19 resources later. But I do want to show you that this link exists, and it takes you to new deadline dates, a link where you can virtually explore colleges, information on the new COVID-19 questions, which I'll get to later, and how to attend a virtual college fair. If you have any questions about how COVID-19 is affecting your college application process, please visit this link. All right, I'm going to go back to the main Common App webpage. You can do that by clicking the logo icon or the back tab. Now, before we go to all the trouble of completing a Common App, we might want to see if your big three colleges accept the Common App. So scroll to the bottom of the screen. And again, we're not going to open a Common App account yet until we know our colleges are there. You can explore more than 900 colleges in the Common App. And I'm going to have you type your big three colleges. So again, let's see if your colleges accept the Common App. Type your colleges here. And I can lead by example because Darnell wants to apply to Radford University. Okay, and great. One college found. It looks like Radford University accepts the Common App. So go ahead and you type your universities here. Back to the main page, more than 900 colleges in the Common App. I'm going to type Darnell's second college, which is Frostburg State University. Go ahead and type your colleges. All right, and great. Frostburg State University, one college found in the Common App. Now, I already mentioned that James Madison University did not participate in the Common App. Let's see if JMU has been added to the Common App since I last checked. All right, there are no colleges that match your search. Now, what should Darnell do? If if a college is not accepted by the Common App, it might be the same situation for you. But since Darnell had 2 colleges that already accept the Common App, Darnell is going to complete the Common App for those 2 colleges. But it would take too much time and too much effort for Darnell to complete both Common App and the Coalition App systems. So Darnell will complete the Common App from the application on James Madison University website. So for JMU, Darnell is going to Google James Madison University. So if your college is not listed on the Common App, you should Google the university, apply. Right. Darnell's a freshman, apply for freshman, apply now. And then you can see to apply to James Madison University, I can complete the online application, or I can complete another system application called the Coalition application. So since it's just one college on the other application system, Darnell is going to complete the application on the JMU website. All right, but let's go back to the Common App. And we are going to create an account. So www.commonapp.org, click Create an Account. And then here you're given 4 options to choose from. You want to click First Year Student. And then you want to use a personal email address. Do not use your fcpsschools.net email address, because when you graduate and exit from FCPS Public Schools, FCPS Schools email address no longer exists, and you will not have access to the email, and you will not be able to log into Common App. So go ahead and use a personal email address, one that you check often. Then you have to come up with a password. So think of a password that is 10 to 32 characters long, at least 1 uppercase, 1 lowercase, number, a special character, no spaces. And then once you have that password, you want to retype it. Go ahead and put your email address, personal email address, one that you check often, not your FCPS Schools Net email. And now we're going to complete our basic information. So we're going to log in, our first name. We're going to use the last name. Now be sure to use your legal name as it appears on official documents. This will help colleges to match documents to the correct applicant. So make sure you use your legal name. Then you're going to use your phone number. And do 1 for United States, area code. We'll shout out to you guys from the 80s, 8675309. All right. After you do your phone number, you want to go ahead and put in your birth date. And it wants you to type out the month. And the entire year. Darnell, it's 2003. And then we're going to add an address. So you want to add your address. It takes you to Maps. So you'll be able to select your address once you put it in. And then click Continue. Then you're going to click No. You are not currently based in a European country. You're in FCPS Public Schools unless you're virtually far away working with us. You're going to select No. And then what describes you? I'm going to click Applying as a first-year student. I plan to start college in 2020-2021. Now, I'm going to leave it up to you if you want to check off these first 2 check mark boxes, because you may or may not want the Common App or colleges to reach out to you or communicate with you. You can change these later in settings if you wanted to have them communicate with you. I'll leave it up to you if you want to keep these check marked or not. You will have to do the last checkbox. You want to agree to the terms of use and privacy policy. And remember, we sent you an email if you're under 18. Make sure you get your parent and guardian consent. And then you're going to click Create an Account. Right, remember, if you need help, raise your hand and your ETR can pull you into a breakout room. After you create an account, you will see the Common App dashboard. And so you're going to see a welcome message. Welcome, Darnell. Congratulations on taking the first step in the college application process. You get a welcome message from the Common App. And then also in the top right-hand corner, you see your name, your Common App ID number, and the email address you used. Remember, there's a place for you to write this down in your Big 3 checklist. I'll give you a few minutes to add your Common App ID, email, and password to your Big 3 checklist. Again, if you do not see the welcome message or you need help, please raise your hand and your ETR will bring you into a breakout room. Again, I'm going to give you a few more seconds to write down your login information and your Common App ID. Because again, this account will roll over from year to year. And all the information you put in now will save you time later. Okay, now that you wrote down your login information, your community, Common App ID number, I want to draw your attention to the 5 tabs up. We have a dashboard, My Colleges, Common App tab, College Search tab, and Financial Aid Resources. If you don't see a screen with these 5 tabs up, please raise your hand and your ETR will bring you into a breakout room and help you open up a Common App account. So again, this opening screen is called a dashboard, and this is your home base for managing your college applications. When you add colleges in your Common App, they're going to show up here. And right where the welcome message is, your colleges you select are going to show up right here on the dashboard. And this is also where you're going to be checking your progress on your application too. So in a few minutes, we're going to add colleges to our list. And they will show up right here. All right, we're going to research these 5 tabs, and I'm going to start by going backwards. So I'm going to click on the Financial Aid Resources tab. In this tab, there are guides for saving for college, planning for college costs, a link for financial aid, completing the FAFSA, free application for federal student aid. And there is information on where to find and apply for scholarships. You also have the ability to compare financial aid officers from other schools from one college to another. And while we're in this tab, I also want to let you know that Ms. Grande gave me 2 flyers, College Access Fairfax flyers. I put them in our Google Classroom. And College Access Fairfax is a nonprofit organization that can help students and families find college funding. And they offer group and individual support on the FAFSA and to help find scholarships. So again, these flyers for College Access Fairfax are in our Google Classroom. And College Access Fairfax can truly open doors to the future. Be sure to check our college Google Classroom. second thing I would like to mention while I'm on this tab is that when you're entering information into your Common App, your social security number is optional. It is not required. However, if you are going to apply for financial aid, you must enter your social security number. The college needs a way to match your application to your FAFSA application. So if you enter your social security number now, it'll save you much trouble later. If you don't plan to apply for financial aid, you do not need to enter your social security number in the Common App application. But if you don't enter your social security number and you end up applying for financial aid, you will have to go through a lot of obstacles later. I just want to point that out. All right. The next tab I'm going to go into is the College Search tab. I'm working backwards through these tabs again. All right, the College Search tab is where you add colleges to your Common App. So when you click on this tab, you'll see 911 institutions listed. And in order to add a college to your Common App, you click on the plus icon, and then you're going to get a green check mark. And then the college is added to your dashboard. So college, I'm sorry, someone's mic just came on. All right, so Darnell is not interested in attending Adelphi University or applying, so I'm going to remove this. Now I'm going to go back to the College Search tab. And I will add Frostburg now, one of Darnell's colleges. I'm going to hit the plus sign. I'll get a green check mark, and then I go back over to Dashboard, and you'll see it's there. What I would like for you to do in the College Search tab is type in the college you're interested in attending, one of your big 3 colleges, Supermatch, and type it in, and get a plus sign, and see if it's in the dashboard. Now, I know we already did a college search in Naviance Supermatch, but I want you to know that you can also filter colleges here in the Common App. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you can click More Filters. And you can filter by such things as that were in the Naviance. So you can filter by state, region, schools that don't charge an application fee, schools that don't require a personal essay or letters of recommendation, and schools that have standardized testing options. Remember, Ms. Contreras talked about test optional. And if you select any of these filters, your 911 colleges will get smaller. And you can also find college application requirements listed in a spreadsheet style. So if you prefer the spreadsheet style, click on this button, Application Requirements, in the top right-hand corner, and it lists the colleges and filters. You can click on one of the fields. If you don't know what it means, there's a question mark. I'll tell you what it means. You can filter by ascending or descending order. You can filter even if there's an application fee, 0 application fees to 180. This is all the 911 colleges, but you can also click the My Colleges Only and see it in a spreadsheet style also. I'm going to go back into the tabs. College Search tab. I'm going to make sure you give you some time to type in your big 3 colleges, and then you can check the dashboard and see if they show up. So I have Frostburg. I still need to add Darnell's second college. hit the plus sign, I'll get a green check mark, and then I can check a dashboard, and there it is. So before we leave, go ahead and add your big 3 colleges. Once your colleges are added, they'll be added there on the dashboard. All right, now I'm going to work my way backwards. We went through the financial aid resources. We went through the college search. Now I'm going to click on the Common App tab. And this is where you're going to spend the majority of your time. There are 7 sections in the application. There's a profile section, a family section, an education section, testing section, activities, writing section, and courses and grades section. And what I want you to know is that you can jump around between these sections. So if you're entering your profile information and you don't finish it and you think you want to add something to your essay, you can go to the writing section, and you can go back to another section. You don't need to finish it before you move on to the next. And when you are finished, you're going to get another green check box. And then also, if you have a question along the way and you don't know what you're supposed to be typing in the section, you can always go over to Instruction and Help. And here they list commonly asked questions related to each section. And if you click Read More, it'll tell you how to connect to the 24/7 support team. Now, there's not enough time for me to dive deep into every one of these sections on the Common App tab, but I do want to highlight some important items. So in the profile section, if you scroll on down to the bottom, there is a Common App waiver fee section. And it's an option for students with economic need to request an application fee waiver. So if you believe that you qualify, we want you to complete this section. We do not want an application fee to be a barrier for you to apply to college. So there's the Common App waiver fee. If you need it, please use it. Okay. All right, now I'm going to move on to the family section. And here you're just going to share details about your household and family members. Many colleges collect this information for demographic purposes. And then the education section is where you share information about your school and academic history. You would start by clicking Find School. And then you would select your school and hit Continue. So that's how you start the education section. The testing section is where you will self-report scores for standardized tests. Now, if a college requires testing, your official scores will also need to come from the testing agency. And remember, during our Naviance circuit presentation, Ms. Contreras shared that because of COVID-19, many colleges went test optional this year, and you don't need to submit testing information. If you do choose to submit testing information, you would do it here. I believe Ms. Grande already stated that if you received a good score, you may choose to share it. If you don't, but you don't have to, just know you will not be penalized if you do not submit your scores. The testing section.
Go ahead, Ms. Grande.
I wanted to just add right here, when you self-report your school scores, colleges can't unsee them. So if you're still thinking about whether or not you want to submit your scores, one, you can look at the average accepted scores on the college website under their academic profile for last graduating class. You can look it up in Naviance on a scattergram within the college that you're looking to apply to. Or you can talk with your school counselor or your college and career specialist, and they'll help guide you to the right direction. The reason why we don't want you to list it if you're still unsure is, as I mentioned, colleges can't unsee that score. So if your score is below the average that they normally have accepted in the past, you don't want to showcase your score if they're telling you you don't have to submit it if you don't feel that your scores are up to the right standard and or if you haven't taken it. So again, test optional is the option for the student to submit their test scores. I just want to, and if you have further questions, you can submit them here at the end, or you can ask me throughout later on.
Thank you, Ms. Grande. That's very important. The colleges won't be able to unsee if you type your scores here. So think about it. Consult with the career college center specialist, college and career center specialist. All right. Thank you, Ms. Grande. And it's college and career specialist. Sorry, the names got changed this year. All right, the next section is activities. And students spend a lot of time on this section, and you have the ability to enter up to 10 activities. According to Common App, the average number of activities entered per student is 5. All right, so if you work or you have an internship or a hobby or family responsibilities, such as taking care of siblings, colleges want to know this. They want to know how you are spending your time outside of classroom. And then you have to estimate the amount of time you spent on each activity. And also, I want to note that the activity section, there's some character limitations here. So if you run out of space or you want to elaborate on anything, there's an additional information section inside the Common App for you to provide more information. And I'll show you that where that is later. Now, I know because of COVID, it's prevented some clubs and sports from taking place. But I was told that COVID-19 is not a free pass to leave this section blank. Colleges still want to see that you have been productive with your time and that you stayed engaged. All right, I'm going to leave the activity section and I'm going to go to the writing section. And Ms. Contreras is going to talk about the personal essay next. But if the college you want to attend requires an essay, you can choose from these 7 prompts. Something about your background, facing obstacles, a belief or an idea that has been challenged, a problem that you've solved, personal growth and accomplishments, and then something that captivates you. And the 7th option is where you can write about a topic of your choice. So if you feel like you have an essay that doesn't match up to any of these prompts here, you can design an essay of your own. And then here is where you put your essay. You can see there's a 250-word minimum and a 650-word maximum limit. And that anywhere you see the Google Drive icon, you can grab information from your Google Drive and pull it into your Common App. And you can grab it from your FCPS Schools Net Google Drive. I tried it and it works. All right, and then also in the writing section, there's a new COVID-19 question that I mentioned earlier. It's in the additional information section. And it is officially called the community disruption question because it includes COVID-19 as well as other natural disasters. Because there are students using the Common App across the country and the globe, and they've also been dealing with earthquakes and wildfires that have impacted their ability to attend school. So here is the question. And if you wish to complete it, I want you to know that this question is optional. Remember, it's in the additional information section. There is a 250-word limit, so it's clearly not an essay. And this is just a place for you to share your personal impact, but it does not need to be written as an essay format. And while I'm on the writing tab, the additional information section, I also want to point out that here is where you can add the additional information that you could not fit into your activity section because there was a limit in the activity section. You can always continue it here. So that's your writing session. We'll come back to essays in a few minutes. The courses and grades section. This is where you self-report your grades and your transcripts. Now I'm going to jump over to the My Colleges tab, on our last tab here, and type. And then this is where you get into the specifics for each college on your list. The colleges you should have shown up here. Here you will give permission for your school and your counselor to send transcripts to college. You're also going to give your counselor permission to send letters of recommendation on your behalf. And also in this tab, you'll be asked specific college questions, such as, do you want to live on campus? What type of major are you interested in? This is the My Colleges tab. And in this tab, you will ultimately submit your applications to the school in this tab. Now, I'm going to show a quick video on the My Colleges tab from Common App.
Hi, it's Miriam from Common App. Let's take a look at the layout of the My Colleges tab and the information you're asked to enter. The My Colleges tab is where you complete all the information for the colleges you have added to your list. In this tab, you'll answer college-specific questions, invite and manage recommenders, and submit applications. Select a school to open their information. The first page you'll see is their college information page. Here you'll find contact info, college-specific requirements, and more. Next, you'll see the application section. Here's where you complete school-specific questions, invite recommenders, and submit. Each college's question section is made up of different subsections. Because all colleges can choose what kind of questions to ask, this section will look different for every college. In the Recommenders and FERPA section, you will complete the FERPA release authorization and manage your recommendations. For more information on how this process works, check out our video about it. The final section is where you can submit your application. If all required questions are complete, you'll show an option to review and submit. If there are any incomplete questions, you'll find information and links to take you to those sections. Some schools may also include a writing supplement. If so, you'll find that section below the application. Keep in mind that any writing supplement is completed and submitted separately from the application. If a college asks you to submit a portfolio, you'll find that section below the writing supplement. And that's it. Now that you know more about the My Colleges tab, you're ready to get started.
So I said this concludes our brief overview of the Common App and creating a new account. So remember to take note of your Common App ID and your login information. And then before we move on to crafting your college essay and college support services, I do want to show you the link where I found the last video. And this is the Common App hub for how to do each section of the video in each section of the Common App. So if you get stuck, you can go to this link and look at all the videos that they have on each section. It'll help you complete that section of the Common App. I put this link to the hub for our Common App videos in the Google Classroom. Oh, sorry about that. My mic was off earlier. All right. Now we have our another pause, reflect question slide, and I'm going to ask Ms. Grande, is there anything else in the Common App that you wanted to review before we opened up the floor for questions from students?
One thing that I just wanted to point out is not only will you have a main essay, each individual college or university may have additional writing prompts. So oftentimes students think that they're done with the application and there's still parts of the application that need to be completed. So don't feel that you have to rush through it. Just make sure that you're looking at each college's requirements for the writing component, essay component. So once you're ready to submit, everything will be done.
Thank you, Ms. Grande. I see a question here, and the question says, how long will I have access to Google Classroom? That's a great question. You will have access for the rest of the school year until you graduate. Please use it to your advantage, and we'll try to add things throughout the year that may be of relevant importance to you. Thanks. Any last?
Yes, I have a question. For the Common App, is the deadline the same for all the colleges, or is it different?
Ms. Grande, would you want to answer that one?
Sure. Each individual college and university will have different deadlines. So you'll notice you'll have an early action, regular decision, early decision, or rolling. Early action means that if you apply by that early date, you find out earlier. Early decision is a strong commitment. So it's an agreement that you're signing off on with your parents and your counselor stating, if I'm accepted to this college, no other colleges I'm going to apply to, this is my only choice. And then regular is usually December to January, sometimes February. So you want to make sure that you know which dates you're applying to. And then rolling means as soon as you're done with your application, you can submit it, and within 6 to 8 weeks, you will get an answer back from the college. Again, the one to really understand is early decision is a binding agreement. So it doesn't matter how much financial aid you get or scholarship money, you're saying that you can afford 4 years of that college at the tuition price.
Thank you, Ms. Grande. Any other questions before we move to the break? All right. So I want everyone to take their cell phones, and you can go ahead to your timer app. We're going to set 5 minutes. Oh, we have one more question. Vivian, we're going to just make you moderator. Go ahead, Vivian. You can turn on your mic. The question says, must the Google form be turned in today? So, no, nothing needs to be turned in today. So don't worry about that. This is just for you. Nope, the college checklist is just for you to do, at your own time pace, whatever works for you. Yeah, thanks. Good question. All right. We're going to set 5 minutes on our timers, and we will hit start in 3, 2, 1, start. All right, everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys had a good break. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about crafting the essay for your Common Application. And Ms. Blake did briefly go over the prompts that you will find in your Common App account. So let's say that it's time to write your essay. You have not really thought about it. You're not sure where to start. You don't know what question you're going to even pick. Simple step one is just start with a brainstorm. Okay? Think about who you are. What makes you tick? What have you been involved with throughout high school or even before high school? And what are your hobbies? What are some things throughout your life that have helped shape and influence you? Really, what makes you you? If you're having trouble, you can always talk to people that know you well, such as family or school staff, teachers, people in your community that you maybe have worked closely with you. So that's the first thing, is to brainstorm. And then once you've decided kind of where you're going to go with it, if you're the type of person that can just sit down and write a 5-paragraph essay with no planning, you can knock it out of the park, that is wonderful. But I know for a lot of us, we have to kind of get our thoughts and ideas down on paper before we actually sit down to write that essay. So you can use your old, regular trusty graphic organizer, or you can make an outline. I know a lot of you guys are familiar with graphic organizers. You probably use them either in English 12 or any of your other writing classes. But this is just a basic one that we have here. So starting with the introduction, you want to try to catch the reader's attention from the get-go, right? So admissions officers, they read thousands and thousands of essays. So if you can catch their attention right from the beginning, that'll make them want to continue reading what you have to say. And then last sentence, is your thesis statement. And then have 3 supporting paragraphs with 3 separate ideas. And then in the conclusion, just restating your ideas. So this is just kind of using something that you're already familiar with to help craft that essay. You don't have to use a graphic organizer like this, but it may help you. Use tools that you already have at your disposal. Now we want to share some tips and tricks with you. So number 1, I do want to say that I've heard that colleges and universities are kind of giving the essay more weight, or they're looking at it more due to kind of the situation that we're in with the global pandemic, right? As we've said several times, a lot of schools are doing test optional. So that's one less data point that they have in the admissions process as they're looking at candidates. So they might be looking at the essay a lot more. So it's going to be that much more important to help yourself stand out, right? And also the essay is kind of the one point in the application where you can really brag about yourself and be yourself. So, all those tabs that Ms. Blake went through in the common application, it's really just filling information, right? It's not anything creative. It's not saying really who you are. This is the point where you can tie all of that together, right? So number 1, be yourself and write how you speak. When we say write how you speak, what we mean by that is that, don't go using big words like maybe your mom or a professor might use, because I will tell you, I have heard that colleges can see right through that, okay? So be yourself. You don't have to use big fancy words to get your point across, okay? Going along with that, make it about you and be authentic. And when we say make it about you, sometimes we have certain life experiences that maybe impact us, that maybe something that didn't happen to us. For example, say maybe you lost your grandmother and you decide that your grandmother was such an important person in your life that you want to make your college essay about that. What happens is you might make that essay more about your grandmother than about you. So be careful to keep the focus on you. How did you deal with that challenge? How did you respond to it? How did it impact you? Number 3, make a strong opening. Like we said in the graphic organizer, hook them in right away. Okay, you don't want to bore them. You want them to want to keep reading. Number 4 is actually simpler than it seems. Be direct and answer the prompt. And Ms. Blake went through all the different prompts, and if you're not sure if you're answering a prompt, you can always pick the last one, which is a topic of your choice. If it's a topic of your choice, then you're definitely answering it because you're writing what you want to write about. Stick to the required length. So again, there's a maximum length of 650 words. I'd say around 500 words is a pretty good ballpark. Okay, don't go too crazy. Admissions officers do not want to read page after page about your life story. Okay, so make sure that you're sticking to the length. Don't make it too short either, right? Number 6, write 3 to 4 drafts. Right? Revise, okay? And then number 7 is really important. You want to show your essay to 2 to 3 people, but not more than that. Because what happens is if you just start showing your essay to everyone, people will have different thoughts and opinions on it. They'll want you to change this and that. And then it may feel like you're starting from scratch, or you may get overwhelmed and not know who to listen to or what to change. Kind of like even when you're applying for jobs. Some people say, oh, show your resume to however many people. If you start showing it to too many people, everyone has different opinions. It gets too complicated. So pick 2 or 3 people that you trust and know you well. It will help you make your essay better. All right. That was a really short piece on crafting your essay. We're going to do a quick pause, reflecting question. Any questions or thoughts on crafting your essay, writing your essay?
Yeah, I have a question. Are there any don'ts in writing your college essay? Anything you should not do?
Ms. Grande, do you want to answer that?
Sure. So something that you shouldn't do is not make it the amount of words that's required. So you must stick to that 650 or 250, depending on which essay you're writing for, word prompt. You don't want to submit it without spell checking and grammar checking it and having someone else review it for you. Oftentimes, students hit submit real quick, and there's a lot of mistakes on their essays. You don't ever address it to a specific college. You make it general and about the writing prompt. You want to make sure that you're answering the prompt and you're not listing any college name on this essay, because the main essay goes to all the colleges you're applying to.
Those are really good points. Thank you, Ms. Grande. Any other questions before Ms. Southworth starts talking about disability support services? All right. So next we have Ms. Southworth, who's going to talk to you guys about disability support services. Take it away, Ms. Southworth.
Oh, hi everybody. I am Anna Southworth, and I'm one of the ETRs in the county. And I am here today to talk with you guys about the opportunities you have to apply for accommodations at the college level, and to kind of review with you all major differences between what it looks like in high school receiving accommodations versus college. So I just wanted to say thank you to Ms. Blake, Ms. Contreras, and Ms. Grande for answering all these awesome questions today. All of that has been super helpful, and I'm hoping that this part will be helpful to you too, because it's also important to consider applying for accommodations if it's something that you know will help you to be a more successful student at the college level. So some important points to make today. I'm going to review with you on the next slide the major differences in the laws that apply to you. Because right now, as a high school student, a certain law applies to you and how you're receiving your accommodations. And when you go to college, it will be a little bit different. And then the second point I want to make is it's completely your right to disclose that you have a disability. But I do want to point out that if you want to receive accommodations at the college level, you must register as a student with a disability in order to receive them. And that means that you have to contact the Disability Services Office at the school that you're applying to, or have been accepted to apply for those accommodations. And therefore, you'll have to submit, point 3, some documentation in order to be eligible for these services. And I just want to make a note that documentation can look different from college to college, but some common documentation that they require would be maybe your last psychological evaluation or educational evaluation. Sometimes those have been done within your high school career, so you can reach out to your school or your family to see what your most recent documentation is. Some schools also look at IEPs, but not all of them. So they may look at your IEP to determine, on that present level of performance page, what has helped you be successful. Also the accommodations page on your IEP. But again, not all colleges look at that. Another thing to point out, which I'll kind of get into on the next slide, there are no IEPs or case managers at the college level. So that piece of it is very different. So right now, you have an IEP, but once you graduate from high school, that IEP no longer applies to you. And that has to do with that point 1 that I made about the differences in the laws. And then lastly, I've kind of pointed this out with documentation requirements, but different schools offer different levels of support. So it will be different from school to school. And it's really important to take this into account when you're applying to different colleges. It kind of goes back to what Ms. Contreras was sharing with the Supermatch. It's important to know yourself and know exactly what type of school would be a good fit for you. And that may include the disability services that they offer. So keep that in mind as you are applying to colleges. Okay, so the big differences between high school versus college. So first of all, now while you're in high school, you are receiving your IEP under the law IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Once you graduate and earn your standard or advanced studies diploma, you will begin receiving accommodations or services if you're found eligible under the law ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act. So I'm going to first review what you're currently experiencing so that you can really start to understand the difference between what it will look like once you transition to college. So in high school, you look at that big bubble on the bottom. In high school, the biggest takeaway here is that the student is considered the child. So you are considered a child in this situation. Your parents probably have a lot of involvement. They may have a lot of involvement with your IEP. They may have a lot of involvement with your grades. They're able to communicate with your teachers and vice versa. Grades go to your parents. So you, again, are kind of considered the child in this situation. And therefore, you may not feel like you have as much involvement in all of this process. But that's okay. We're going to look at what it will look like later. And I know that your schools have been working on, giving you some self-advocacy skills before you transition. And that's super important. Another thing I want to point out here and right now that you are currently dealing with, in high school, homework is usually due the next class. And you have a very consistent daily schedule. I know at my school, we have a red and a silver day block schedule, and it's really easy to get used to. You know exactly where you're supposed to be and when, and it's pretty much designed for you. But you'll see when I review the college level, it looks a little different. In addition, going back to my point earlier, the teachers facilitate your accommodations in the high school setting. And they're very involved with that. They may help you with your goal writing as well. And that changes once we leave and go to college. So now that we've reviewed high school, I want to review what it's going to look like in college. So going down to that big bubble at the bottom, you can see you're no longer considered the child in the college setting. You are considered the adult. And of course, your parents, if they want to be, they will be there as a big support to you. But they won't have the same role that they have played in the high school setting. And you kind of have to pick up that role when you're in the college setting, which means, if you have a question for your professor, you're reaching out to your professor, and the professor's reaching out to you if they have a question. Grades are shared with you and not your parents, and you're welcome to share them with your parents, but it's a different role that you're playing. Some other differences: there is a consistent weekly schedule versus that daily schedule that you're used to. And this is super important to consider when you're looking at your classes, because if you're not the type of person who does very well first thing in the morning, maybe you shouldn't look at classes that are super early. If you do really well in the evenings, your school might even offer evening classes. So that schedule is going to look a lot different, and you're going to be able to craft it to make it work for you. So that's also super important when you're considering how you want college to look. Another thing, your professor at the beginning of each semester will provide you with a syllabus. The syllabus will have all of the due dates, which include, projects, assessments. Anything that they're expecting you to turn in for that semester is usually given to you at the very beginning. And it's your responsibility to keep up with all of that. There's not always an opportunity to turn things in late. So keep that in mind as you look ahead to college. And then going to the top of this section, you see self-disclosure. I mentioned this a moment ago. If you do want to apply for accommodations, if you think they have helped you throughout high school and you want to have them in place to be safe, then you will have to self-disclose and let the school know that you need that support. And in terms of facilitating accommodations, it is your responsibility to do that. So if you reach out to the school's disability services office You go through the process of applying for accommodations, and then you start receiving them. If there's an issue, it's really important for you to go to the Disability Services Office to let them know that you may need something to change, or to your professor and talk to them. And this is that whole self-advocacy piece that I know your case managers and your ETRs at your schools have helped you with and will continue to help you with. But it's a really important piece and a big difference between high school and college. Okay, so another question that we get asked a lot are what type of support services are available in the college setting? And it is different from your IEP. So keep that in mind. You don't have the exact options on your IEP. And again, it varies from school to school. But some possible college accommodations would be extended time. This is a very common college accommodation. And this is one that most colleges offer some level of support for this. There's also the opportunity for priority registration, which means that you may be able to register early for a class, which is great, or you may be able to register for a particular class that you know is a good fit for you. Then there's assistive technology. You may have had this on your IEP and you may be receiving assistive technology in high school. This also may be something you can take advantage of in the college setting. Sometimes students have needed note takers or even teacher notes. And this is something that oftentimes colleges offer. There's another minimal distraction in the testing environment. If you feel more confident taking a test in a small environment or a quiet environment, this may be an accommodation that your school has available. And this is a harder one to get, but the single room accommodation, this is something, some students may need to room alone. So if you're staying in a dorm room, you may need to be alone and not with a roommate for whatever the reason may be. And it's more difficult because I know colleges really want students to interact with each other, but there are always things that come up that make that difficult. So that could be an accommodation for you. And then sorry about that. And then there's also the permission to record lectures, class activities. Not always available at every college, but it may be for the school that you're applying to. And then depending on how you learn, you may require some alternative formats for text like Braille or digital text, and that may also be available. Again, these are just some of the available accommodations in college. And you will see, as we mentioned earlier, all colleges offer some level of support, but certain colleges will offer more. And they may even have an additional program that you need to apply to or pay for if you need that extra support. But it's really important to consider this as you are thinking about what is the best fit for you in college. Okay, so moving on, I think it's also equally important to hear some student voices about this. You hear a lot from adults while you're in high school, like I just mentioned, but I think it's a great opportunity to listen to these short videos here that provides the student's perspective. And I think Ms. Contreras is going to take us there.
There was a guidance counselor that I would talk to occasionally, but she would give me vocational fields and enlisted military jobs, and just things that she thought that I would be able to do, and they would put us in boxes and think that we're all kind of the same. It can be very limiting to an individual.
I had all of these skills, all of this value that I hadn't been able to appreciate because I had been so focused, so fixated on what everyone was telling me I was bad at. And being able to appreciate what I was good at made a huge difference in my life. To hear, you've told me what you want to do, and I believe that you will be successful at it. That's different.
At college, people are a lot lot nicer and there's a lot more freedom and people are like a lot more mature here than in high school.
There's no safety net. You go to college, you move into your room, your parents leave. In the end, your decisions are your own. An important factor is sensory load. If, as an autistic person, you can go on a campus and you can find the noisiest spot, and you will be able to be there for half an hour, good.
You have to reach out to the disability services if you need help in that aspect, a private room for distraction free or more testing time, and realize what you need and not expect everyone to always know what you need. So a lot of that is self-advocacy. By telling your professors that you're on the spectrum, they're going to give you that help. But if you don't, I mean, they won't know how to.
It made it easier for people to understand me, and so I needed that in my life. I knew that.
Find something that you're really good at and that you really love and just and that passion and just pursue it in college. Since coming here, I work with really great professors who helped me evolve and be better as a musician. They wanted me to like stay on top of my practicing, but also at the same time stay on top of my academics and all that stuff. Kind of like finding a balance.
Do you have the skills necessary or the ability and resources to acquire those skills? Both independent living and the academic piece, and managing to stay on top of what you need to do and live a fulfilling life.
I'm becoming more and more of an adult and thinking on my own 2 feet in a way, because I used to be really shy back in high school. Still am, and I guess doing all these music related things and being involved in music has unlocked parts of my brain and just has opened me up.
With someone on the spectrum, they might not know that everyone wants to talk about trains or nature. You have to be able to understand other people's opinions and how they feel about things. I've learned how to become a pretty good listener, and you take a genuine interest in someone and they really notice that. College helps you grow into a more broad and more cultured, I guess, individual. And that's what it's helped me to become.
I got to college and I started talking about autism. I started talking about my life. I started sharing, personal details and feelings and what it was like to be me. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, everyone wants to hear this. I could get up in front of an audience and I could speak and they would understand and appreciate and laugh and maybe cry a little bit on certain speeches. And it worked in a shit way. And that was life-changing. I will get knocked down. It will hurt like crazy, but I will keep moving forward. And when I get up, I'll understand why that happened. And as an advocate, I'll be able to take that pain and that understanding and hopefully use it to help other people.
I think it's honestly really great to hear from other young people about their experiences. Both videos are really good at speaking to that. Some takeaways, as you can see on the bottom, that you have to learn the rules, regulations, and your rights. Those are some of the things we've reviewed with you a little bit today. If you're concerned about any of that, please feel free to reach out to your ETR at your school, and they can help you understand all of that. Another quote here, that was hard for me because I never had to speak up for myself before. And that's the case with a lot of students in high school because, again, adults have such an important role in the high school setting. And, sometimes it takes you a little longer to find your voice. But, practice that this year. Practice that with people you trust in the building. Try to be your best advocate before you transition. It'll certainly help you out in the long run. And then another quote, you have to start early. I made sure I went to the DSS office in the summer before I even started classes. I haven't brought this up, and that is so important to keep in mind. Once you know which college you're planning to go to, go ahead. If you know you want to apply for accommodations, look into their disability services office and their process and apply. Go ahead and get that out of the way. Because this last quote says, I definitely recommend getting and using your accommodations. What you need to keep in mind is if you wait and you think, or you wait and you realize, oh, it's too late and you're already into the semester, well, you can still apply for accommodations for the second semester. However, the receiving them will not be retroactive, which means that first semester you will have to, you'll have the grades that you have. So it's just really important to be on top of all of this if you think it's something you need. And it doesn't hurt to have it in place, and then you can use it if you need to. Okay, so I think this is the moment where we're going to pause, reflect, and answer any questions that you guys may have.
I just want to add, this is Ms. Grande, I just want to add that the office names will be different at every college. So every college
Absolutely.
may call it disability services, may call it the accommodations office, may call it the abilities office. So
accessibility as well.
So just knowing how to ask for help with your first point of contact through the admissions office, and they'll be able to directly give you that personal information to that person that you need to contact. So just because they say, no, we don't have that office, doesn't mean they don't have it, just means it may be named something different.
That's a really good point. Thanks for that.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Southworth. That was excellent information. Very thorough. We hope that was helpful to you all as you go through this process. We are getting ready to wrap up, but before we discuss next steps, we want to talk to you just briefly about what's available at your high school, okay? We don't want to leave you high and dry after you've gone through this whole process. You have support in the high school and people to help you. So first, number one, your College and Career Center, okay? The College and Career Center is your one-stop shop for everything college and college admissions. I'm not sure if everyone's aware of this, but you can make a one-on-one appointment with your college and career specialist, which I highly recommend doing if you have questions or you need assistance as you're going through the college admissions process. They are the experts. We highly recommend you get to know that person and that you feel comfortable going to ask them for help and ask questions. Most, if not all, of the college and career centers have websites that are part of the high school website, the FCPS website, and they put out newsletters on a regular basis. So check those out. A lot of times they go right into your Naviance messages. So make sure that you're reading that newsletter because there's a lot of information about college admissions, scholarships, even employment opportunities, and it's all for you. Going along with that are the virtual college visits. Okay, so those I believe are, they've been going on all throughout the fall. I'm not sure how many we still have left, but take advantage of these virtual college visits. This is a chance for you to talk and ask questions to a representative from the college that you may be interested in. And you may be able to get more information than what is just available on that college's website. So take the time to sign up for those and attend them if there's a college of interest that's visiting. And, oh, Ms. Grande, I see she just put in the chat about where to find those virtual college visits and where to sign up. You go into your Naviance student and then go to colleges and then there's visits. So thank you, Ms. Grande. Your school counselor. So really your school counselor is all of your application information and your recommendations. You're going to be submitting information to them. You should definitely be keeping in contact with them as you go through the college process, and also meet with them if you need help. And then of course your ETR, who hopefully told you about this event, and that's why you're here. So I bet most of you already have a working relationship with your ETR. If you don't, they're there to help you with everything post-secondary in college. And Ms. Grande, if I missed anything else about College and Career Center or school counselors, please feel free to add anything that I may have missed. And then she also added stuff in the chat about scholarships and where to find those.
I just added that in the chat for everybody.
Perfect. Thank you, Ms. Grande. All right, now we'll discuss some next steps.
All right, now that we are about done with boot camp, what is next? Your next steps are to finish the big 3 college application checklist, This checklist puts information you need to complete the Common App all in one place. It would be great if you could also share your checklist with your ETR so they know your progress. Then after you complete your applications in the Common App, if you have a phone, your next step would be to download the mobile app for the Common App. So you receive reminders along the way, such as checking to see if your transcripts were sent. Those reminders can be very helpful. Another step is to submit your college application and apply for financial aid and scholarships. Remember, a good place to find information about paying for college is College Access Fairfax. The College Access Fairfax flyer and more has been put into the Google Classroom for College Bootcamp 2020. And we encourage you to visit our Google Classroom as much as you can, and we will continue to update it with resources throughout the year. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Blake, for just tying together the next steps for everyone. At this time, we want to see if any of you guys have any final questions.
Yeah, sure. So for the Common App on the phone, like what does it look like? Because there's several, and I'm not sure which one to download.
I'm typing too. Let me see.
Common App on Track, it's called.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Ms. Grande. So it's Common App on Track.
Just put it in the chat for everybody.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you guys for all of your attention. We know that this was a very long boot camp, and we appreciate all of your participation, and we hope that this helped with your post-secondary planning, and we hope to see you again at another event in the future.